We're looking at how a detailed integrity assessment leads to a solid corrosion management plan. Think of it as a textbook example of how a trusted pipeline advisor service works in practice.
We'll be focusing on a specific high vapor pressure condensate pipeline, HVP for short. We'll call it pipeline AB.
The goal is to see how potential problems, like corrosion, are found before they happen, and how strategies are put together to deal with them, even for systems that might seem pretty low risk on the surface.
Yeah, it's a great look at preventative engineering. We're pulling details from a couple of documents, a triage assessment, and a briefing document that laid out the plan for this pipeline AB.
Using this pipeline as our example, it shows the value of getting that expert assessment, like from a TPA EA service.
Let's dive in.
Okay, let's get into the specifics of pipeline AB. It carries HVP condensate, you said.
Correct. High vapor pressure condensate. It starts at a gas plant, and it's part of a bigger network, about 37 kilometers long, feeding into another processing plant.
Okay, so it's a link in a chain.
Definitely. And importantly, it's been in service for 23 years.
23 years. That's relevant, I imagine.
Oh, absolutely. That operational history is a key piece of data for any integrity assessment the kind of TPA EA service provides. You have to consider the potential for issues to develop over time.
Makes sense. So with HVP condensate, this non-aqueous stuff, what's the usual thinking about internal corrosion risk? Is it normally a big worry?
That's the interesting starting point. Theoretically, the risk is considered negligible.
Negligible? Why is that?
Because the condensate itself isn't watery, it has very low inherent water content. Under typical operating conditions, the internal corrosion risk in HVP pipelines is considered theoretically negligible.
Theoretically, I sense a but coming. Does the TPA EA just stop there?
Not at all. This is where the real value comes in. Because theory is one thing, but the assessment points out industry experience has shown that episodic corrosion damage and occasional accelerated failures have occurred, even in similar pipelines.
So even though the liquid should be fine, problems have cropped up elsewhere in the same region.
Exactly, throughout the NWAB region
Yeah.
specifically. So that experience tells you we need to dig deeper than just the theory. We need to actively look for potential corrosion hazards. That's core to the TPA EA process.
Got it. So if it's not the condensate itself causing widespread issues, what are these potential hazards that the TPA EA process identify here? What causes those episodic failures?
The assessment really zeroes in on two main things. First, episodic ingress of contaminant debris sludge originating from upstream HVP condensate storage bullets and spheres.
So basically junk getting into the pipe from upstream storage tanks.
You got it. Stuff that shouldn't be there, that's the first piece. A TPA EA service would definitely look at those potential entry points.
Unwanted stuff getting in. What's the second factor?
The second part is what happens to that junk. Contaminants settling in pipeline low points, leading to localized water accumulation and pH suppression.
The debris collects in the dips in the pipeline.
Right. These settled solids can trap small amounts of water that might be present.
Even though the condensate itself is low water.
When that water gets trapped with the contaminants, the local chemistry can change, the pH can drop.
Meaning it becomes acidic.
Precisely. More acidic and therefore corrosive, but only in those very specific localized spots where the gunk and water collect. Not everywhere.
That paints a clearer picture. It's not general corrosion, it's these localized hotspots triggered by contaminants. So what about this specific pipeline AB? Did the TPA find any history of it having these problems?
The assessment states clearly that pipeline AB has not experienced any recorded internal corrosion failures to date.
No failures. Then why the big mitigation plan if it ain't broke?
That's exactly the kind of thinking a proactive TPA EA approach challenges. Yes, no failures yet. But remember, it's got that 23-year operating history, and we know from industry experience that contaminant ingress is a potential hazard for these types of systems. So the justification is preventative. The assessment says its history and the potential for contamination justify the application of a preventive mitigation program. It's about using the EA findings to get ahead of problems.
Managing the risk before it becomes a failure. So what is the proposed mitigation strategy?
It's a two-part strategy. First is routine pigging operations.
Like sending a cleaning tool through the pipe.
The operator decides the frequency, but the main goal is the removal of debris and accumulated solids, particularly at low points. Physically cleaning out that junk.
Okay, step 1, clean out the debris. What's step 2?
Step 2 is something called post-pigging MEG slugging.
MEG.
Monoethylene glycol, it's an alcohol. After each pigging run, they plan to inject a 100-liter slug of MEG, roughly every 60 days.
Why the MEG? What does that do?
It does two key things. First, it neutralizes potential trace water pH suppression, so it counteracts that acidity buildup in any remaining trace water.
Ah, tackles the corrosive environment.
And second, it promotes MEG water protective film on the inside of the pipe. It helps form a barrier against corrosion.
So pigging cleans it, MEG neutralizes and protects. That sounds quite thorough.
It is, and the goal is explicitly preventative against latent corrosion activation from historical contaminant ingress events.
Meaning, even if some stuff got in years ago but hasn't caused a problem yet?
The MEG helped keep it that way.
Yeah.
It stops those dormant spots from becoming active corrosion sites. That's a direct outcome of the kind of detailed plan a TPA EA service aims to deliver.
Gotcha. It seems like there's also an implicit water management angle here too, right?
Absolutely. By getting the solids out with the pig, where water tends to collect, and then using the MEG, which likes to bind with water and adjust the pH, you're actively managing the conditions where trace water could cause trouble. The strategy prevents formation of localized aggressive environments.
Where the water settles in those low points.
Exactly. And it also avoids activation of dormant corrosion cells that might have formed over those 23 years. It's playing the long game, which is what good integrity management guided by something like a TPA EA is all about.
How does this specific plan for Pipeline AB stack up against what other operators do? Is this standard practice?
The good news is the assessment notes no historical internal corrosion failures reported in the downstream HVP shipping network. That's reassuring context. Yes, the strategy itself, especially the MEG slugging after pigging, is consistent with best practices observed in comparable HVP condensate systems.
It's a recognized approach.
It provides proactive assurance against corrosion risks that are rare but high consequence. Even if failures aren't common in HVP lines, they can be serious. So the prevention is worth it.
Low frequency, high consequence. You manage that proactively.
Precisely. The summary puts it nicely. While HVP systems traditionally operate with minimal corrosion threat, the history of episodic failures in similar systems highlights the importance of preemptive mitigation. This recommended plan, born from the TPA EA assessment, ensures proactive management of low-frequency but high-consequence risk scenarios, extending pipeline service life. It's just responsible asset management.
What are the big takeaways from looking at Pipeline AB through this TPA EA lens?
The biggest thing is seeing the importance of being proactive, even when a system seems fine, like this pipeline with no failure history. A thorough assessment, like a TPA EA, provides digs into the potential risks based on age, type, and industry experience.
That assessment leads to a concrete plan, not just identifying risks, but outlining specific actions like pigging and MEG slugging to manage them before they cause trouble.
Exactly. The aha moment is realizing that even without a past failure, understanding the potential hazards from the TPA EA allows for this kind of smart preventative action. It's responsible engineering.
Yeah, and it's not just about pipelines, is it? These principles of assessing risk, looking at history, considering potential low probability but high impact events, and planning preventative measures?
That's the question, isn't it? What vulnerabilities are we maybe not seeing clearly? Food for thought.
Definitely. This has been incredibly insightful. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.